Well, hey, welcome to session 4 of our series, Portraits in Courage. I'm so glad that you're a part of this. I hope you're enjoying it. I hope it's helping you understand the story of Exodus and all that's happening there. And I hope it's also helping you in your own life find maybe some courage that you've been needing right now. You know, when it comes to helping out other people, jumping in, helping. Some people, they hold back out of fear. It could be that they're afraid of doing the wrong thing, or they don't believe their skills are good enough for the task, or they don't believe that their help would be wanted. Some people, though, have the opposite fear. They are afraid to allow others to help them. They want to appear maybe capable, or they're afraid people will be angry or displeased to have to help. Sometimes people are afraid it will take longer if they get other people involved, or it won't be as good, have that quality that they're really wanting to have if they allow other people to help them out. And some people are just afraid to lose control over the whole situation, so they try to kind of do it all of themselves. This week we're looking at the time Moses' father-in-law, a fellow by the name of Jethro, had to intervene to get Moses the help he and the people the help that they needed. First, let's look at the need that needed met. We are in chapter 18 of Exodus, beginning in verse 5. It says, Jethro, Moses' father-in-law, together with Moses' sons and wife, came to him in the wilderness, where he was camped near the mountain of God. Jethro had sent word to him, I, your father-in-law, Jethro, am coming to you with your wife and her 2 sons. Now Moses had sent his wife and his 2 sons to stay with Jethro while he went back to Egypt. And so now there's kind of a family reunion coming. And so Moses met with Jethro and they greeted each other very warmly. Then Moses told Jethro all about the Lord and all that he had done to bring them up out of Egypt. And he also told them about the hardships they had met along the way and how the Lord had saved them. And we're told in verse 9, Jethro was delighted to hear about all the good things the Lord had done for Israel in rescuing them from the hand of the Egyptians. And he responded, now I know that the Lord, that Yahweh is greater than all the other gods, for he did this to those who had treated Israel arrogantly. Then the next day, we're told that Jethro saw Moses do something that he was often doing, and that was spending all day serving as the lone judge for all the people. And Jethro asked Moses, why do you alone sit as judge? Well, all these people stand around you from morning till evening. And Moses answered and said, well, because the people come to me to seek God's will. They're asking for judgment on things and to settle disputes. Whenever they have a dispute, it is brought to me, and I decide between the parties and inform them of God's decrees and instructions. And Moses' father-in-law replied, what you are doing is not good. You and these people who come to you will only wear yourselves out. The work is too heavy for you. You cannot handle it alone. Now, why was Moses handling this alone? Why might he have been afraid to ask for help? Let's think about why people do this. Maybe since his leadership was often always being questioned, people were complaining and grumbling against him. Maybe he didn't want he wanted to make sure he was always looking capable. And if he said, well, get some other people, oh, he can't handle it, huh, Moses? Maybe that was his concern. Maybe he was afraid people would be angry or displeased if he asked them to help. Well, you can't do this, Moses? You got to have me help? After all, Moses, this was your idea to come out of Egypt. Maybe he thought no one else was up to the task, or he was just afraid to kind of lose his control of the situation and God would be mad at him. Maybe somehow God would blame him for anything that went wrong, but we just don't know. But he needs some counsel to do the courageous thing and let go and let others help. Here's Jethro's counsel. Listen now to me, and I will give you some advice, and may God be with you. You must be the people's representative before God and bring their disputes to him. Teach them his decrees and instructions, and show them the way they are to live and how they are to behave. So Jethro is saying, Moses, Here's your role. You got to know your role and you've got to execute your role. The things you need to do, be the people's representative before God, to get God's word and to give God's word to the people. That's an important lesson. All of us, we need to know our assignments. The key things that our organizational roles require of us, so we don't wander off into tasks that don't fit with our role, but what we're supposed to be doing. All of us need to know that. Whether you're in a business, a church, a family, you kind of got to know, here's the thing I'm to bring to the table. And then Jethro continued with a plan. He said, select capable men from all the people, men who fear God, trustworthy men who hate dishonest gain. Now, note here first that there are qualifications that Moses needs to look for. He's not just to take anybody. He's looking for people that have some things, some people who have a heart for God, who are dependable and trustworthy, who won't be saying, hey, there are some folks who need this dispute settled. Now I'm taking a nap. People who cannot be bribed. And then he says, and appoint them as officials over thousands, hundreds, fifties, and tens. Have them serve as judges for the people at all times, but have them bring every difficult case to you. The simple cases they can decide themselves. Now note the increasing scope of responsibility and the ladder of succession for difficult cases. So you start with someone over 10, and that could be 10 individuals, but probably 10 families. Then you have someone who would be over 50, and then 100, and then 1,000. The more difficult cases, or those involving more than the first 10, those can be just keep moving up the chain along the way. So, if you've got somebody who's got a dispute from this group of 10 with somebody from this group of 10, well, you're going to want to go up to that next group and get that. They'll make a decision. So if they can't solve it for whatever reason, it keeps moving up, and only the most difficult cases would then get to Moses. Anything that could not be resolved by any of those other judges is going to come to Moses. Now, this is sometimes called the Jethro principle and when applied to the church, but many organizations, including the military, use a similar format. Now, look at the outcome for Moses and the Israelites. Jethro says that will make your load lighter because they will share it with you. If you do this, and God so commands, you will be able to stand the strain, and these people will go home satisfied. So there are three outcomes I see here. One, Moses will have a more manageable load that will not need to burn out. Two, the people themselves will share in the load. That means they will have a stake of ownership and will hopefully be more reflective on their own behavior and attitudes rather than running to Moses and grumbling over every little thing. And then third, this should lead the people to be satisfied. Their concerns will be met in a timely manner. Conflicts can be reduced, leading to a more harmonious existence between them all. Then we're told in verse 24 of 18, Moses listened to this. He listened to his father-in-law, and he did everything he said. Then Moses sent his father-in-law on his way, and Jethro returned to his own country. So let me ask you, what about you? Where in your life do you right now need to have the courage to let others help? Is it at home? Giving tasks to your children and entrusting them learning to do things for themselves so there's less you have to do? Is it at work? Are you someone who's kind of hoarding all the work and getting frustrated that no one is helping you because you're not asking for help? You're not allowing people. Is it on a sports team? Is it knowing, you can't be the ball hog. You can't do everything. You've got to let everybody fulfill their function and their role. What is it? I want you to think about that. I'd love for you to talk about that. And so you can find that courage to let God work, to let other people help. Thanks for joining us. We'll see you at our last session next week.